Well, after that run on the treasury and also adequate evidence that numbers don't matter, it is quality and not quantity. Let me say it's an honor to be invited to deliver this convocation address at the MDI. It's an honor as I'm neither an alumni of MDI nor a management graduate. I am a student of literature and history and a civil servant by profession, with nearly 4 decades of experience in various sectors of governance in the country. Mr. Malay Mukherjee, Chairman of the governing body, other members of the governing body of MDI, Dr. Mukul Gupta, Director, Deans, other faculty members, parents, and dear students. Let me share something with you. I have 2 loving sons. And when I told them about this address and asked them, what should I say? The younger son, who's a corporate lawyer, he speaks little because he charges by the minute for the advice that he gives. His terse response was, they have made a mistake perhaps. The elder son, who has been litigating in the courts and therefore a little more voluble, who's presently teaching undergraduates and postgraduates in law in a university, sagely advised me, these children are very, very bright, so you should better be careful about what you say. You should think out what you want to say. Well, dear students, I am well aware as to what a special day a convocation is. So let me begin by congratulating all the students who have successfully completed their course and have received their degrees, diplomas. Heartiest congratulations to all of you who are going to make a new beginning in the professional world. I also congratulate your teachers, your family and friends who can see the fruits of their support in your diploma. It must indeed be a very happy day for you all. Armed with a highly coveted degree from a very prestigious institution, you are now fully equipped to face the new challenges that life presents you. Indeed, you are amongst those chosen few who have the luxury of making a selection out of a plethora of professional choices, both in the country and outside. The degree which has just been conferred upon you can make you a learned academician, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, the proud owner of his or her own enterprise, a social activist, and hopefully even a civil servant like me. Today, many of my younger colleagues sport the coveted MBA tag. In my present job, I interview bright young talent for selection to the civil services of the country. I look forward to seeing some of you there. It is all a matter of your choice. Though the challenges and milestones of your journey may be varied, yet the strategy to meet these milestones will invariably be the same. Why I say the same is because I firmly believe that there are certain fundamental underlying principles in any professional journey, which if followed meticulously can take you to your desired goal. And believe me, it will be a very satisfying, rewarding, and contented journey. I will attempt to share with you a few of these principles which have given me so much pleasure and satisfaction in my long and varied, yet at every stage, a meaningful career as a civil servant. First and foremost, dear students, always remember that there is never an excuse or an alibi for non-performance. The most frequently heard alibi is that the Indian society is declining in its values and how wonderful things were in our own days. Here I'd introduce you to my golden age theory. I believe that everybody thinks that the era in which they lived or what they did was the ultimate. This was the golden age. And every successive generation is never going to be able to match to them. It is absolutely ridiculous, this theory. The values change, yes, but there's no evidence that there is a decline in values. We have to look at changing values, changing mindsets, and perform accordingly. I would suggest that do not ever use the fig leaf of changing value systems or apologies. The second principle which I would like to state here is that of creativity and innovation. At every stage of our career, we can improve things by thinking out of the box and innovating. The other day, while I was traveling on a rather long journey to Kohima, it's long because you have to keep changing flights, and then not only the aircraft, you have to also keep changing your mode of travel. Ultimately, if you leave home at 5 o'clock, you might reach Kohima at about 4 o'clock in the evening, 5 in the morning to 4 in the evening. During the course of this journey, I happened to pick up a business paper, and I read an article which interested me and impressed me. And this really talked about innovation. It mentioned how in a state which is absolutely media dark, in somewhere in north central India, there was one company which came up with an idea of a free radio station on demand service and to reach out to those villagers. The way it works, any mobile phone user, and we have lots of mobiles all over the country now, any mobile phone user can give a missed call to a specified number. In return, he gets a call from the radio station, which will play anything of his choice. It could be a song, it could be dialogues from a movie, it could be shairi, it could also be articles, and of course, in the process, also be faced with certain advertisements. What has the company got? The company has got a captive listening group of about 50 lakh listeners, and this was a hitherto media dark area. The Kan Khajura station, or the centipede station as it has been called, has now become the largest station in that state, and they are now looking to diversifying and spreading out to other neighboring states. Let me give you another example from my own personal experience. The National Rural Health Mission, all of you have heard of it. But how did it come up? It came up in a small little village somewhere in central India. The place used to have a lot of diarrheal deaths every year, and so the Chief Minister of the state sent the health secretary, sent other officers to that place to find out what was wrong. It was found that almost every villager had some ailment or the other, and there was absolutely no access to health services. The party returned and told the Chief Minister, "Sir, your government doesn't run in that village." He said, "Yes, I do know that. Now that you know about it, please find a solution." So the party brainstormed and found out what was the problem. The problem was not that the health workers did not want to go there, but the village remained cut off from the mainstream for about 9 or 10 months in a year because of rains. So the answer came, empower the villagers with the basics of health, hygiene, train people in the village to take care of the health needs, and that is how came up the concept of the health mission, the rural health mission, which then got adopted all over the country as the NRHM. The third point which comes to my mind is that of good governance. No matter how cliched it may sound, it is absolutely essential to have good governance. Systems change gradually, and therefore it is important to make sure that there are no knee-jerk reactions or short-term reaction to any problem or a crisis. We must find ways in which we can promote business, promote enterprise, promote initiatives, promote risk-taking, and promote creation of wealth. In the context of the corporate government, it is about good corporate governance. It sounds simple, yet very basic and fundamental, and it actually starts from self-regulation and goes right up to external monitors, which look at the behavior of the corporate entity. This has been successfully experimented with in Europe and also in some companies within the country. Flowing from the principle of good governance are the issues of ensuring transparency, integrity, and ethical management. I'm sure you've heard this before, but no matter how many times you hear it, it is always relevant, it is always important. We have to ensure that autonomy, integrity, competence, and accountability all go together. There cannot be autonomy without integrity, competence, and accountability. I need not quote to you the examples of Enron, Satyam, or the Lehman Brothers, where everything collapsed due to unethical practices of the top management. The purpose of highlighting this is just to understand what exactly went wrong and why. Recent civil society movements and public outcry has made both the government and the industry increasingly conscious of the fact that they have lost the trust of the people. and that they have to work towards regaining this trust and confidence. They must rise to the occasion in setting high standards of integrity and transparency. A question arises as to why at all should we focus on corporate ethics. One is that the private sector's role has grown much larger today, particularly in countries like India during the last 20 years or so. The share of the private sector in the GDP has grown substantially. Secondly, business is no longer only domestic. Money knows no boundaries. Businesses operate both inside a country and outside it. Globalization prescribes the imperative that the behavior of the corporate must be in consonance with ethical practices. Thirdly, the credibility and sustainability of the business is no longer a matter of choice. Fourthly, it is also a matter of perception, which is related to the reputation of the country and the company, and then it translates into something more tangible. That is, what is the cost of doing business? If bribery is bribery is embedded in the cost of transaction, naturally the cost of doing business is going to be much higher. Coming to the role of you as an individual, dear students, in whatever context that you may be working, my advice to you is always to listen to your inner voice. More than anything else and anyone else, you are answerable ultimately to your own conscience. Here I quote from William Shakespeare in Hamlet. It says, quote, "This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as a night the day. Thou canst not be false to any man." No professor or institution can teach you to listen to your own inner voice or your conscience. More often than not, you will come across situations when you'll reach the limits of your analysis based on your professional knowledge. So very often, you'll find yourself lost in conflicting opinions of your superiors, subordinates, and peer group. Interests of self-will always pull you in a direction where you may not want to venture. Well, it is then that you have to take that management decision based on what your inner voice tells you. You will have to decide as to what is right for you and what is wrong for you. If you will take care to listen to your inner sense, it will always tell you what is right. It is this that will make the difference between merely a competent manager and a great manager. Another very important principle which I'd like to impress upon you is what is commonly referred to as a work-life balance. Corporates are notorious for squeezing the poor manager, reaching great heights in your profession at the cost of personal health, personal growth, family happiness, and civic responsibilities may enrich you in money terms, but at the same time may leave you very poor in many other ways. Our children should not so much miss our presence in their lives that we and our views cease to matter to them anymore. Material benefits, glamour, and flamboyance can never compensate for a life lived with passion and compassion. You have all built an excellent foundation here, and I trust each of you have your dreams and aspirations. However, don't expect to realize them overnight. Start with small steps. Set yourself ambitious but realistic targets that may stretch you, but which you can achieve within a reasonable stretch of time. You may want to build a grand palace, but you'll well do to remember that you can only build it brick by brick. You will find that as you take these steps, you will need great determination to succeed. And more than that, you will need to love whatever you are doing. Here I quote from Steve Jobs in his much referenced Harvard Convocation speech of 2005. I'll quote, "You've got to find what you love. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love whatever you do." Dear friends, be under no illusion. Life is tough, and being successful, which I hope all of you will be, in life is even tougher. If you don't love what you're doing, you will never have the determination required to see you through the difficult times, which too are as inevitable as a night following the day. These are the times when more than ever you have to introspect hard and to find an inner strength which perhaps even you did not know existed, and to work that inner strength towards success. Let me tell you, success will never come to you just because you have a degree or a diploma from a top university. Life throws up many challenges, as I said earlier, and there'll be tough times. In order to successfully navigate through these troubled times, it is equally important to be grounded and to be connected with reality. Reach for the skies by all means, but always keep one foot firmly on the ground. I don't know how many of you have read William Wordsworth's Skylark. That's one of my favorite poetry. I'll quote from that. Be the type of the wise who soar but never roam, true to the kindred points of heaven and home. Friends, reputation matters, and anyone who tells you that it doesn't is wrong. But that doesn't mean that you should take the wrong decision only because you're worried about what will the people say. It is impossible to please everyone, and it is impossible to be liked by everyone. You have to focus on taking the right decision just because you know it is the right thing to do, even if it attracts adverse criticism or reaction in a short time. While you pursue your legitimate ambitions in life, there's something I should have said earlier. Don't forget that you have one big obligation. I would even say a crucial responsibility to give something back to your own country and your own people. Here I would like to talk about your role in nation building. I often remind my younger colleagues in the civil services that you as a public servant have a special duty to your country. Your existence is for doing public good. Similarly, friends, all of you, as young managers, whether you choose to join the government or not, have to retain the patriotism and love for your country. India is changing, and I'd like to believe the change is for the better. You will be able to help people shape the world and your place in it. By all means, set yourself ambitious goals. But remember that more wealth, fast-track promotions, or greater fame may bring you only brief pleasure. To make the journey more satisfying, more pleasurable, set yourself goals that are broader and where you can take others with you, especially those who could not make it without your help. In so doing, you'll make the country and the world a far better place. We have lots of hopes from you, and I hope they'll not be belied. Always hold your head high and be fearless. Be proud of your parents, your family, your teachers, your institute, and above all, your country. When it comes to delivering on your responsibilities, dear friends, remember, the country comes first and everything, including yourself, afterwards. This ceremony marks the culmination of one phase of your life. It is also the time to leave the relative comfort and security of this wonderful institution from where you've learned so much and to embark upon your own professional journey. It is often said, a journey well begun is half done. You have received a great start. You will do well. But do not for a moment think that this is all that you need and everything else will come easy. Learning and development continues throughout life. You are never too old to learn. And in this context, your degree is just one milestone. Learning should not stop because you have graduated. You will have to continually improve your skill sets and build up better and newer capabilities, and also keep evolving with the times. You are very young, you are very ambitious, and I hope you have the driving force in you. Keep the fire in your belly burning always. Remain positive, but never be content. You have achieved your goals. It only means that you need to aim even higher for better and better goals. The time for dreaming and for going into dizzy flights of fancy should not end when you enter the real world outside. The quest for innovation and creativity must continue. Only the horizons should become wider and your goals higher. I wish you all the best of luck for your future. I hope all of you succeed in realizing your very considerable potential. May God bless you all. Thank you.